I know this is the best in the world. I just need people to see it. There's a kind of like delusional self-belief.
Were you happy with the product?
Yes. I'd sold it to him as the best pull down ever made.
The best pull down
ever made in history. Business, and it was probably the best thing I've ever done in my life. Like genuinely, because it forces you to change as a person. My mom told me like this is the stupidest plan ever. My girlfriend told me this is the stupidest plan ever, don't do it. Yeah, so that was rough. Yes.
Love that. A piece of advice you'd give to the world?
If you want to do something amazing, get amazing people around you.
Welcome back to another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Richard Thompson, and today I'm joined by Ben Norris, founder of Citadel Strength and one of the rising innovators in the global gym equipment industry. Ben's story is incredible. From struggling through school, feeling misunderstood and out of place, to building a world-class manufacturing company from a tiny Sunshine Coast workshop with nothing but belief, grit, and relentless persistence. In this episode, we unpacked entrepreneurship, neurodivergence, resilience, and what it really takes to build something extraordinary from scratch. Whether you're chasing a business dream, trying to figure your purpose out, or simply navigating life feeling different, this conversation is for you. All right, let's get into it. Ben Norris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're a Sunny Coast boy.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And off air, we've worked out that you're Australian, but have this weird combination of accent with the British Empire. Your parents are from the motherland.
That's correct, yes.
Talk to me about growing up on the coast in your childhood and your adolescence, what that looked like, and why, what shaped, because you are an entrepreneur and on the path to something special. But where do you think that spirit came from in your childhood?
Yeah, well, grew up on the Sunshine Coast, lived in Clounger most of my life. Went to the Sunshine Coast Grammar School up here, which is at Forest Glen, and kind of obviously I'm a little bit atypical in terms of, I've got a little bit of autism in me, obviously. And back when I was going to school, that wasn't really something that kind of got brought up, in terms of like teachers didn't help you with it. So I was very good at some things, but very ordinary at most other things. And I didn't really enjoy being told what to do either. I always wanted to kind of do my own thing. And so kind of the entrepreneurial route really was all I had, especially after I joined the army and kind of realized I really didn't like being told what to do. So yeah, went to Sunshine Coast Grammar School. Like I said, I was very good at some things and very, very ordinary at other things. And from school, I kind of didn't really know what to do. I was bullied a lot at school because of how I interacted with people and kind of didn't really understand social cues, didn't really understand humans either. Like human interaction for me was a little bit of an issue when I was younger. And yeah, when I left school, Mum was like, you got to go to university, go down that path, which we all kind of taught, I suppose. And I didn't see myself doing that. So I ended up going to TAFE up here on the Sunshine Coast and did my diploma of fitness. And that's kind of what got me into the fitness industry in the first place before I went and joined the army.
And why did you why did you go fitness as against anything else in like a trade or otherwise?
Yeah, so I'm pretty useless with my hands when it comes to making things. I'm very lucky that I have a brother who is the exact opposite of me. So on his end of the spectrum, he is very, very handsy and can learn a skill like that with his hands almost instantly. He is exceptionally good at it, and that's obviously massively helped what we do now. But I suppose for me, why did I go into the fitness side is because I grew up as a youngster, played golf, played cricket, loved all of the athletic pursuits myself. And it kind of just made sense for Mum to go like, he doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. He has to do something. Let's put him into fitness and see, because his hobbies around fitness, right? His passions around fitness. At that point, obviously, I was playing first division men's cricket up here on the Sunshine Coast. I was playing, like regional and state cricket. And I thought that's kind of the path I wanted to go down, until I went and did the diploma of fitness and absolutely just fell in love with all things gym.
Right. Talk to me about going through adolescence and high school with a different age than what we are now with neurodivergency, but how that was for you internally. Because I'd imagine and I don't want to speak for you, but you're cognitively, you're probably assessing the situation going, there's a misstep here and you're not able to understand humans and the relationships with them, yet it's that unawareness is causing friction. So how do you go through, such an important period of time in your life when, for everyone trying to work out who they are and fit in and not fit in, but when you're different, how does that sit with you? Like, how has that experience made you the person you are today?
Yeah, so that was rough. I'll be honest with you. You kind of get thrown in the deep end and you sink or swim. I had no real concept of human interactions, and it's something, like I said, I really, really struggled with, and didn't have friends at school.
Even though obviously you're, by account, very good athletically.
Because I was good at, like I said, I was really good at some things,
yeah,
and rubbish at most other things. And trying to make friends, I just didn't understand it. I couldn't really communicate well, talk to people. I didn't understand people. And when you're obviously in your teenage years, and you're getting into your mid-teenage years to your late teenage years, that's really hard, like really, really hard. And it took me until probably my mid-20s to actually go, I need to improve. This is a massive hole for me. I need to improve, and I need to become a lot better at reading people, talking to people, communicating with people. And I literally started watching podcasts, right, about human interactions and human psychology. And I started to learn what made people tick and how to communicate properly with people. But yeah, growing up, it was a really, really rough experience. And I wish that somebody had kind of given me even just the tools to work through it myself, because for me, once somebody gives me kind of the handbook, I then know what I have to do. Whereas this was completely blind, like I asked Mum about it years later, and I said, you must have known I was special. Like, why didn't you help me? And she goes, well, they would have just put a diagnosis on you and that was it. Like, cool, you have a diagnosis, sweet. How's that going to change your life? And I wish somebody kind of give me a handbook so I could have learned. Because if I can learn, and I like to self-teach, I don't like somebody teaching me something. I like to research it myself and go down the rabbit hole myself. I just wish somebody would give me that tool book, the playbook and stuff, so I could just go, okay, cool, what do I need to do?
It's an interesting, when we'll get into Citadel as well, but for entrepreneurship and successful entrepreneurship, the one of the biggest, no matter what industry it is, the biggest skill set to grow, to scale, primarily is human interaction, is building relationships, building a team. You can't do it solo, and there's a lot of successful founders, I guess, or creators who are on the spectrum and silo themselves and work hard on a specific thing and then sell it. But very few, I think, you need that skill set of human interaction, of human development, of that relationship. When you said mid-20s, was there a crucible moment where you were like, enough's enough, I need to find this solution for me, or the solution is out there, I just need to find it?
It was more so just watching, like I said, kind of podcasts and realizing like how good some people were communicating.
Right.
And realizing some people are so good at orating and speaking, and that wasn't me. I struggled to convey my ideas, and it kind of started me slowly. And it wasn't until probably I hit 30 and I had just started Citadel, and I realized how important, as you just said, networking and the human interaction side of any business is, because people buy from people. And to go, I am so deficient at this. How do I fix it? And I literally just started watching every single podcast I possibly could to understand all of the principles that obviously now I kind of take for granted. And obviously you would have learned the same skills over the years, is whether it be tonality, how to convey yourself, putting yourself in the other person's shoes to see what they want, obviously, because you can only sell something that they're going to want at the end of the day. You can't like force them to do something. And that was, for me, huge, was just probably saying the business. And it was probably the best thing I've ever done in my life. Like, genuinely, because it forces you to change as a person for the better. Because you can't, what I've learned is like all the much, much, much more successful men than me who I talk to, every single one of them has had to grow. and is so much better at me in all these things. And I look up to them and I go, and when I talk to them, you can see their progression over the years. They're like, Ben, I started there. Don't worry. We made all the same mistakes in business, right? We trusted the wrong people. We made all the same errors at the start and stuff. And that for me was definitely the biggest step, was staying in the company. Like I said, when I was probably 29, 30 was when I started it, and having to do it because it was something I adored doing. Making like gym equipment is like my passion, is my hobby, is everything I've done throughout my life. And then going, for this business to work, I'm going to have to get better at sales. I'm going to have to get better at interacting with people. And that's where it was like sink or swim. Like, truly, I have to learn this.
You, by even just by virtue of saying I have to learn this, it's a growth mindset. Did you always have a growth mindset even through school, or did you just accept your position, as challenging as it was in high school, let's say, and then only after that did you accept that you're malleable in terms of your skill set, or do you think you've always had that?
When I first met my girlfriend, we've been together for a long time now, she said to me on one of our first dates, "You're going to be rich someday." And I think that is probably, she's obviously a woman and she's vastly better at human interactions just off the bat, right? Women are far more socially adept at picking up non-verbal cues. And I think that there's something in me that she saw that obviously led her to make that statement that I'm probably not going to settle for normal. I'm not going to settle for average. And so I've always had a very capitalistic mindset. I just never knew how to turn that into money, like in terms of like a successful business, because personal training is not really about what you know. It's about how you interact with people. It's a very personable activity, right? They're paying you for an hour of their time, but they want to obviously enjoy that time. And back then I didn't realize that, no, you're here for a goal. Like, surely the goal matters more. Well, to 99% of people, the goal matters less than the experience that they have
on the way to that.
Exactly. Whereas I've always gone, well, if you have a goal, well,
just go and do it.
Go and do it, right? Like, nothing else really matters. How you feel on the way is immaterial. It might suck, but who cares? There's the goal.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe that's kind of what she picked up in me when I was younger. I've always had that mindset. And then obviously being able to now sell a product as opposed to selling like a service, the product also speaks for itself and makes it a lot easier for me to talk to people about it, because I'm not having to sell them my time. I'm selling them my years of experience to make that product.
Sure. So talk to me then. Let's go down this chronological timeline. You get out of TAFE, you do the personal training piece, you're offering the service. When did the shift come to go into goods, into manufacturing, or into this prospect of Citadel?
Yeah, so it's probably 27, 28 at this time. And I was still personal training people. And one of my really good friends, Clark, said, "Hey, you got to meet this guy, Andy. He runs a gym equipment company." So I said, "Yep, cool. I'll meet up with him." He goes, "You might get a job." I'm like, "Yep, sweet. We'll see how we go, right?" Met up with him and had a chat to Andy, and he was in a pretty poor way physically, like multiple injuries from his time in defense, and was just not in a good headspace. Obviously, it's like when you're in pain, you can't really perform. Mentally, you're not in a good space. And so I just said to him, "Hey, I can give you some PT and help you out, right? Help fix you up, I suppose." And over the course of the first couple of months we started working together, basically all his pain went away. It was pretty simple stuff, like, I see it all the time: weak glutes, weak hip flexors, weak core, etc., leading to, back pain, all the usual stuff that I'd see. But what he saw over the time was I'd J-rig and modify a lot of the machines in the gym that we'd go to because they were wrong, like they were designed incorrectly. And over the time, he'd obviously got to see me modifying the machines.
How would you be modifying a machine?
So
on the fly?
Yes, there's like multiple ways. Either you can add things like wedges to a squat pattern, right? So by adding wedges to a squat pattern, if you have some poor dorsiflexion of the ankle, you can kind of hack that and make your squatting pattern a lot easier. A strength profile could be wrong resistance profile. So basically with a muscle, it has a specific strength profile. So in the middle of the range, it's very, very strong. In the short position, it's very weak and in the length and range, it's stronger than the short position, but it's a little bit weaker than the mid range. And so generally we want to try and match the strength profile of a muscle. A lot of machines are designed in reverse, where it's very, very heavy in the contracted position, but then very light in the lengthened position. So this is obviously not optimal at all for training. So you can add things like daisy chains to basically modify how the axis of rotation works with the weight. So there's like lots of different things. So I had like a bag of tricks, I'd call it, to bring them out and then modify machines.
Did you just pick that up like yourself, or were you learning on the fly in your years as PT?
Yeah, a little bit of both. And also, like I said, I prefer to be self-taught. I prefer to find the people who are the absolute pinnacle in their fields and learn from them, because they're the pinnacle in their fields for a reason. So I would literally go to like who are the best guys in the biomechanics space and learn off of them, instead of trying to, yes, there is trial and error, and you realize that not every single person's identical, and you can obviously play with that, but the principles generally carry across. So that's how I really started was, we trained together. I would modify the machines, and we got talking, we became friends. And he asked me, hey, I'm making this new line of gym equipment. What do you think about some of it? I said, where are you making it? And he goes, it's going to be basically copying other brands. And I said, let's not do that. Let's manufacture from scratch, and let's make machines properly. So that way, instead of basically copying something that's wrong, why would we copy something that's wrong? Let's make it right. So I did up a bunch of designs for him, came on board as a head of like R&D, a head of design, and did up some computer kind of graphics of what the machines would look like and all the different like functionalities they'd have in them. And we put them up on the Instagram page, and it just went gangbusters. People were like, oh my God, this is awesome. I want to buy it. How much? Send us a price list, etc.
And this is, and the client, at this stage, the point of sale is, or the avatar or the best client is the home gym, or is it, are you knocking on gym doors or?
No, since it was a pre-existing business, he already had contracts with gyms.
Right.
So there were some home gyms, but the main target demographic was a commercial space, whether it be a small PT studio all the way up to a large franchise facility. And I think, which we could discuss probably in a minute, is the gym equipment scene has had very little innovation for probably 25 years. It's very much Chinese, out of China, copies upon copies upon copies. And for some new innovation to come to the market, people were loving it. So I had a discussion with him about the future of me at the company. We obviously did not see eye to eye upon that, and I decided to depart and start my own company.
How long ago was that?
We started 3.5 years ago. So actually, no, it was 4 years ago, but the first 6+ months of the company was purely like, how do we make something? Like one thing. How do we make one thing? So in terms of total selling time, about 3.5 years. In terms of like when I actually put pen to paper to create Citadel, 4 years ago.
And you started in, where does your brother fit into Citadel?
Yeah, so once I left the other company, I had obviously all these ideas and all these designs. I'm like, damn, what am I going to do now? Like I've kind of proven that the market wants this, but I can't build anything. I'm pretty useless with my hands when it comes to that side. So I'm like, what do I do? So I found out John, who's my brother, who's obviously very handy and can build basically anything. And he lives up in Gympie, and I was still in Caloundra. And so I said, hey, what are you doing? He goes, I just got back from the mines from one of his swings. I said, hey, can you come down? I want you to try and build a piece of gym machinery with me. I got a pendulum squat in my mind. You can weld, right? He's like, not really, but I can weld a bit, right? But like, it's not a professional weld.
How do you weld a bit? Either you weld it or you don't. Maybe not. Annoyed a lot of welders out there listening to this episode right now.
No, he was just like, I can weld a little bit, right? Like he can kind of, get by and stuff, because he was putting fences together. So he was, putting all the fences out, the mines and stuff, right? So like you might need to weld something. something might break, something might come from factory and stuff, and you can't really send it back when you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, you have to make it work.
Yep.
So he could kind of weld, right? Luckily, like I said, he's exceptionally good at picking up anything to do with making things, and very quickly he became one of the best welders I've ever seen. Like, just genuinely fantastic welding. And obviously now we bring on Boilermakers who look at his welds and go like, God damn, you've got no qualifications on welding, but like your welds are unbelievable,
Yeah, right.
like truly ridiculous, right? So I was super lucky with that. So John's like, yeah, sure, I'll come down. You know, I got a couple of weeks back here. Let's have a look. And that's literally how he started, was here's kind of like a hand drawing, right? Here's what it should look like. Can we make one? And that took us 5 months to make a single piece, you know what I mean? Because like we build it and then we test it at the gym and I wasn't happy with it. It didn't work how I wanted it to work. It wasn't adjustable enough. Like the mounting points for like handles were wrong. Like the band pegs were in the wrong position. Like the frame would twist a little bit too much. So we had to add in like support structures. It was a very long process. And it took us about 5 months to get anything remotely right, where it was like, okay, this is somewhat sellable. And then it took us 8 months to sell our first piece. So the entire time I spent all of my like savings at this point, you know, like on the materials.
Yeah.
You know, I obviously didn't have a job because I was like all in on this, going like,
So
this will work, right? I swear this will work, you know.
Promise this will work.
But after 8 months and you don't sell a single thing, like that's when it starts to get a little
And are you
bit
going to
stressful.
gyms at this stage, or are you trying to get it residential?
So at this stage, it was more like social media, obviously, because the fitness industry is very social media based, as you know. And I was stressed, obviously. When we were trying to do like the social media stuff, we were messaging gyms, hey, like new gym equipment company, check this out. Nobody,
Crickets.
yeah, exactly. Nobody was buying a single thing.
Did you have any doubts?
I knew that okay, here's the funny thing, right? There's a kind of like delusional self-belief,
I love it. Yeah.
right? Where
I live off it.
where I was like, I know this is the best in the world. I just need people to see it, right? And I think that was encapsulated, and it's like my favorite story to tell, because we'd sold like maybe 2 pieces at this point. So we finally got a sell, right? We're like, yes, okay, awesome, right? So we sold like the prototype piece, right, to a gym, right? And then I was just messaging people, and one of my mates from down in Melbourne said, hey, you got to message this gym in the UK. It's like the best gym in Europe, right? Unbelievably well equipped. Every single pro trains there. It's an outrageous gym. I'm like, yep, cool, sweet. Right, I'll hit him up, right? So I hit him up on his personal page too. I'm like, hey man, see your gym. Gym looks incredible. I love it. Just that, right? Like, not trying to sell him anything, just slid into his DMs. He messaged me back, which was surprising, and goes, hey man, I love your pull down. I'm like, sweet. This is good. He goes, how much? And I tell him how much. He's like, okay, cool. We do a deal. If you send me the pull down and I don't like it, you'll never hear from me again, and I'll sell it. If you send me the pull down and I like it, I'll put up a video about it, right? And I'll trust you. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went to John.
So no promise on ordering them or anything.
Correct, exactly. Just like...
If hang on, let me get this right. The lawyer in the room wants the details.
Okay.
So you'll send him the pull down.
Yes.
Which is obviously at this stage you don't have your line of manufacturing is still pretty limited.
Correct. Awful. Terrible. Yeah.
And probably shipping over to the UK is not the cheapest either.
We've never done it before.
Right. So
Yep.
yeah, you've never shipped internationally
Nope.
at this stage. It's the biggest gym in the UK.
Yep.
And if he likes it, you send it. If he hates it, you won't hear from him again, and it's lost
Yes.
to you.
Yes.
If he likes it, he will do a video about it,
Correct.
and that is it.
That was it, basically. He will do a video about it and stuff, and so that way at least gets us some kind of brand recognition.
Okay.
Right?
And obviously that guy's well connected.
Very well connected, exactly. Like one of the biggest names in the entire like gym scene and stuff, his name's Kuba, right? And I'm like, sweet, this is some great deal, right? And at this point, we'd made maybe 2 pull downs and maybe 2 pendulums. Ever. Like our entire history
You've made 4 pieces
was
of
4
equipment.
pieces of gym equipment. All 4 at this point were prototypes. So I'm like, sweet, job done, right? This is going to work. And I told John the plan. John's like, you are an idiot. We are not sending a piece halfway around the world. we've literally just prototype tested. It's barely like
You're
a
sending
retail
25%
piece.
of your stock.
It's barely a retail piece, to be honest with you, right? It's barely a retail piece. We've just finished prototyping it. We've sold like 3-4 pieces so far, and just to Australia. So we've never sent a single thing overseas. To the biggest name, one of the biggest names in the European Union, right? To the best gym in the United Kingdom. He's like, that is a truly dumb plan, because if something goes wrong, our company's dead, right? Like,
Well, yeah, and I guess in my mind is like, that's a wonderful door to open, but maybe in a year or two, you're right. Like,
Yeah.
let's bolster our foundations, and then send the piece in 2 years when we've got the place clean. But that's not what happened.
that's what John said to do, right? That's exactly what John said to do. That's also what my mum said to do. That's also what my
Because you'll
girlfriend
never
said.
get that back again, that opportunity for him.
Correct, exactly.
You might find it eventually if you overtake UK, but
And I'd sold it to him as the best pull down ever made too.
the best pull down
Ever made in history.
Full stop.
Yes.
I love that. So that's Jim Collins.
So yeah, I was like, best pull down ever made. You absolutely love it and stuff. It's brilliant. And John's like, number one, you can't say that. You've made like 2 of them, right? Number 2, you've got like 50 to 60 years of gym equipment manufacturers to compete against. And like, what makes you think this is so good? I'm like, John, trust me, I've used all the gym equipment. It's great, right? Like I said, my mom told me like, this is the stupidest plan ever. My girlfriend told me this is the stupidest plan ever. Don't do it. And everybody, all my friendship was just like, nah, that's probably not the greatest idea you've ever had. But I'm like, nah, should be right. And so John's like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Oh, your
cool,
brother
cool.
said no.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to help you make it.
Well, and
Is it
then-
made yet? Are you using one of the
No.
prototypes? Or are you going to?
It hasn't been made yet.
You're going
right?
to do a new one.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
kind of lied to him and told him that we got another order from Australia. Right?
For a pull down.
For a pull down.
The same week as you need
It
to
was
sit
a
there.
couple of days later, so it was
What?
fine,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
It was all
yeah,
good,
yeah,
right? It was all good, right?
yeah.
So I'm like, hey, it'll be
Fine,
fine.
we
right?
don't do the UK thing, but
Correct. And it just
coincidentally,
it
we
just
have an order.
happens to be red, which is their colours. But don't worry about that, right? This is a pure coincidence.
Yeah.
Right? And then obviously once he saw the upholstery, which literally said Ultraflex on it, obviously the gig was up. But I'm like, John, it'll be fine, trust me. So we sent him the pull down, right? And it took obviously like 3 months on water or whatever it takes to get to the UK. It was a long time. And obviously I saw a post on Instagram from his gym saying like, new piece of gym equipment just arrived. I'm like, sweet, this is good for me, right? So I messaged him and I go, hey man, I saw the pull down arrived. Nothing. I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't great. Days go by, a week goes by, and I'm like, no, I've got confidence. It'll be fine, right? No problem.
Hey guys, just popping in quickly to say thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're enjoying this episode, it would mean a lot if you take a second to follow the show, leave a like or review, and share it with a friend. That support genuinely helps us grow and keep bringing you more great conversations every single week. All right, let's get back into it. Were you happy with the product?
Yes.
You were like, that is the best in the world.
Correct. I knew it, right?
Yeah.
So I was confident but I'm like, I've got everybody saying probably don't do it.
Yeah,
right?
but
No matter
everyone,
where
but in
you
my
are to.
mind, everyone doesn't have that confidence because they have lack of knowledge.
Yep.
You know, your knowledge is that is the best in the world.
Yeah.
They don't know that.
No.
Like
So-
your mum, your brother, they don't know that, but your confidence is that is the best in the world.
Yeah, which, like I said, probably delusional confidence and
Sure.
stuff. But hey, you got to go
Yeah,
off something.
yeah.
So a week went by. I'm like, okay, like, come on, do a video.
Option one
Hopefully,
is
please.
looking like it. You never hear from him again.
Yeah, exactly. Slightly sweating, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a lot of money. That's not good. And at this point, like, we were getting maybe 1 notification a day on Instagram. You know what I mean? Whether it be like somebody like tagging us or something, like maybe 1, and that was like a good day.
And
You know what I
that's-
mean?
that's your
was
mum.
literally, yeah, going, I believe in you. Right? But
This is the best equipment ever.
Yeah, but don't send them the pull down,
Thanks,
right?
Mum.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, this isn't good. So, and then one day I wake up and all of a sudden I've got like the 9+ in the Instagram thing, right, of like messages. I'm like, I've never seen that before in my life. How am I this popular, right? And like the little love heart thing's got like 80 love hearts or something. I'm like, what's going on here? So I click on obviously the love heart thing and stuff, and it's all these comments on a post, and I click on the post, and it's a link to his page and link to YouTube going, Citadel Strength Lat Pull Down, the best pull down ever.
Oh my God.
And I was like, we are so back.
Oh man.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
I was relieved, obviously, and I was happy because like I always knew it was that good, and I just hoped that other people had seen it, and all the members of the gym were posting them using it, saying how good it was. His video kind of went viral. That we had all the messages and stuff from people going, "Hey, I want to distribute for you in Korea. Hey, I want to distribute for you in Europe. Like, hey, I want to buy one from this country, from that country." I'm like, oh, okay, good, right? Like, we've actually got some interest finally. We've kind of like broken into the market a little bit. And I always knew that the international market is where we'd live for a fair bit of time, because the Australian gym scene just isn't as good as the international gym scene when it comes to top tier gyms with top tier equipment.
In terms of their interest in acquiring the best equipment.
Correct, exactly. So the Americas tend to dominate the Middle East, and some of the European countries really want that good stuff. So that's why I agreed to do the UK one as well. That's like the little bit of backstory is like me knowing the industry, knowing that Australia, we don't really care about equipment.
There's no point in you doing the same approach to Melbourne's best gym because the industry is not there, hasn't caught up.
Yeah, and also nobody really looks to Australia, whereas we look to the rest of the world, right? We look to the Americas, we look to the Europeans, we look to the Middle East. So that went crazy, and all of a sudden we then got our distributor in Korea.
Hold on, what, did you speak to him after the video, or did you?
Yeah. So obviously he's like, "Hey man, yeah, I used it. It's an absolutely amazing piece. Thank you so much. I absolutely love it and stuff. It is as good as you said it was." And so everybody started to use it. Everybody started to post about it. Obviously the gym's full of like top tier pros, influencers, Instagram people, YouTubers, and we just kicked off from there. And that was kind of like the turning point of the company where we had legitimacy. And I saw that like the status, that legitimacy matters within any industry, obviously, and to have people spread about your products and talk about your products, that was like what we really, really needed, was him to go, this stuff is really good, because the industry's so used to another like white label Chinese product. It's like, can we get away from that? Because we saw that in the supplement industry, right? Everybody now can start a supplement company by white labeling stuff out of China.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the gym equipment industry was going.
Got it.
And now we're starting to see a few more companies like rising up who are actually producing some good stuff. And for him to obviously do that video and him to give it that status, and for him to say, hey, this is actually objectively a fantastic piece and you should look at Citadel, that was really what put us on the world map.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how do you go? How many years ago was this?
That was November 2024.
So how long are you in we said, how long into the company?
So probably a year and a half. So it took us 8 months to sell our first piece.
Yeah.
And then we were selling maybe one piece every 3 months. So I was pretty bankrupt at this point. Like personally, obviously, I'd used up all my money. Right. And then about a year and a half into the company, we decided to send the piece to Britain. And at this point, we'd sold maybe 4 pieces. So in a year and a half, I'd successfully sold 4 pieces. That was it. And I was just like, okay, like, we kind of have to do this. I kind of need to get into the overseas market. This is where we're going to survive. This is where we're going to thrive, right? For me, because like I said, your overseas market is where all the top tier gyms are.
Did you have any in that difficult time of selling one piece every 3 months, which obviously isn't sustainable for a company?
No.
Did you have, how did you keep yourself motivated? Did you have expectations? Did you have to revise budgets? Did you have to revise the goals? Or because you still believed in the product, but nothing was happening. And I mean, obviously the message to Britain was a big carrot to hit. But before that, how do you keep going when things aren't? I'm really interested in the whole pivot versus persist that we all have to deal with at some point in time in our lives. And you obviously decided to persist with it and not pivot, but what did you do to motivate yourself to not think maybe I should do something else?
It was more blind faith, honestly. It was, I know this will work.
It's just a question of when.
Just have to keep working. Yeah. And like, I'm super lucky that obviously John believed in it too, right? And just stayed on because he had no reason to. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, John had no reason to stay there. He could have gone back to the mines and made way more money. Right? I don't even know why.
He left the mines for this?
Yeah, correct.
He wasn't just coming in on his swing
Nope.
to... Wow. So your brother has cashed in his job and
Yep.
gone, I'm all in for this
Yep.
3-piece a year sort of...
And I don't know why. I still don't know why. Right? And
Perhaps he believed in you.
but I'd given him no reason to believe.
Yeah, but perhaps not maybe the product as you do, but he believed in you.
Maybe, but yeah, even at the beginning, like, because he's not really from the gym scene, he wasn't believing in the product like I did, right? And I don't know why he believed in me, because my track record at that point and stuff wasn't personally believable enough for him to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
And yeah, those first 18 months and stuff, like, they were tough. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. They were rough. And you do go, why does nobody want my product? Like, why does nobody care? How do we get traction? How do we get people to actually look at it? And yeah, we just kind of got Cuba, and that was it. It was just like somebody saying the same things I'd be saying, because John would always criticize me, going, you can't say this stuff's the best in the world. And I'm like, but it is. And he goes, but you can't say that. Like, you've got, like, nobody else is saying this except for you. I'm like, but I know it's true. You know what I mean? Like, I know that, and when people use it, they adore it. They go, this is, like, completely different to what we've used before. I'm like, I just need people to use it. And as I've learned as we scale up the company, my only barrier of entry for sales is, have you used it? That's it. Like, there is no other barrier of entry and stuff, because the gyms who want the top tier stuff will pay the price tag. It's not a pricing issue. It's not even like a turnaround time issue. They wait the time. It's, can I get somebody to physically touch my product?
So after the inundation of all these people telling you that they can import it and help with the international, where do you go from there?
So when you come back to your question about pivoting versus persistence, obviously, for the first 18 or so months, it was just purely like faith, it'll work, right? Purely persistence, like, I swear, John, this will work as a business, right? And like, Danielle had faith in me, obviously my partner, right? And like, your mum's always just like, you can do it, sweetie, right? But you know, like, yeah, that was pretty tough. And then all of a sudden it was really weird, because we went from no sales at all. Like I said, one every 3 months, which is obviously not a sustainable business practice for anything. Even if you're making Bugattis, it's not a sustainable business practice, right? There's like almost no product you can make one of every 3 months and have a sustainable business, except for maybe like, I don't know, a cruise ship, right? You know what I mean? Like, unless you're charging $5 billion for a product, you're probably going to struggle, right?
Yeah.
So we went from that, and then all of a sudden, within a month, Mo, which is our Korean distributor, his name is Mo, he ordered his first container. So a container is about 15 to 20 pieces in a container. So we went from one piece every 3 months to, I want a container of 15 to 20 pieces.
As an order.
Yes, correct. As one order.
Overseas or
In Korea.
In Korea.
In Korea, right? And so we went from the problem of zero sales and no one caring, right? And we could barely, at this point, if you had like forced John and I to work, we could barely have made one piece in 6 weeks.
Full noise. Between the two of you.
Yeah, correct.
That's
exactly.
how long it took.
Yeah, 100%. Because we were learning. You know what I mean? We both kind of, like, obviously John's brilliant at this, but I'm kind of useless. So I'm like, there's 1.5 people working, maybe 1.3 people max, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's really just him, right? And he's trying to solve all these problems, right? Coming from putting fencing wood in the ground and solving that problem to now making gym equipment, right? So we went from the problem of no sales to, how do we make 15 plus pieces
For one order.
in a somewhat timely manner? Obviously, because it can't take you, if you're making one every 6 weeks and stuff, you times that by 15. Well, that's a year and a half later.
Yeah.
So now we had a completely separate problem. Exactly. And how do you make a product repeatable as well?
And are you just at that point just one SKU, or have you got multiple products?
At that point, we had 2 products and one was being prototyped.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like, okay, cool. So how do we now make the pull down, which is kind of what we became known for quickly and efficiently and repeatably? That brought on a whole new set of challenges, and that's still where we are now, is how do we manufacture fast enough? Because it's still at the point where we cannot supply product quick enough to meet the market demand, obviously with all the countries that are now ordering from us, the Australian stuff's picked up too. And then we literally had to pivot, and that was the pivot point. Now we've gone to become a manufacturing company. Now we have to sort our life out from manufacturing products. And we thought, okay, cool, well, we get a better saw, we now hand cut all the pieces and stuff by the saw, life will be good. That's really slow. You introduce human error into the equation, you're hand drilling every product. And we were literally doing that. John and me, like I was on the saw, I was cutting all the products on the bandsaw.
You're becoming the you personally were in the manufacturing.
Correct. Yeah. And I still obviously help with assembly to this day, right? But obviously we've managed to, kind of get to how we kind of managed to circumvent some of this stuff. But the first couple containers, we were hand cutting everything, hand drilling everything, like, tacking it all out on John's workbench, and then John would work them out. We had no staff at this point. It was still just me and John, and Danielle would come up and help and do like cleanup work and stuff, right? Which she really enjoyed. She actually loved getting on the angle grind, doing like cleaning up welds and stuff, and the welding splatter and everything, and making sure that it obviously all looked really good before we went off to powder coat. And it wasn't until we had a conversation with Simon Watson over in the UK, who's the founder of Watson Gym Equipment, who's the United Kingdom's biggest manufacturer of gym equipment. They export all around the world. I met him at FIBO, which is a fitness conference in Germany, the biggest one in the world. And I went up to him and we just started talking. He's a really nice guy. And I said, hey, like obviously I've seen Watson all around the world. How do you scale manufacturing? Because right now we can make maybe 4 pieces a month, like max, right? And we're cutting it all by hand. And he goes, oh, so how's your CAD drawings? I'm like, we don't have CAD drawings. What do you mean? Like, some pieces of paper written by like pencil, right? And he goes, oh, so you are literally cutting everything by hand and drilling everything by hand and tacking, like, he goes, what jigs do you have? And John's like, oh, I kind of like just weld together like a little jig on a table. He's like, yeah, nah, okay, right. So what you boys need to do, right? He goes, I was there, trust me, I was there 25 years ago, right? Get a draftsman in, CAD model your pieces, and get them all 3D laser cut. So that way you get a pack, rock up at your doorstep that has got all the little tabs and stuff in. So at that point, then John taught himself how to use CAD. So that's what I mean, like anything to do with building, John's exceptionally good at it, right? And so he taught himself how to use CAD. So he started like being able to CAD model and 2D SolidWorks, all the stuff. So we started then moving away from anything which you could cut by hand, then became cut by lasers. So all the 2D sheets, cut by lasers. All the 3D pieces, right, which is like RHS steel, cut by lasers, all tabs.
So it's become a digital equation on a computer that cuts it as against hand cutting.
Correct. And that way then it's you're far less likely to make an error with a multi-million-dollar piece of technology cutting it, right? Will it still make some errors? Obviously, nothing is foolproof, but that's obviously a lot better than me. I'll be perfectly honest with you. So for the last couple of years, it's just been how do we scale up and actually become a more proper company from the manufacturing side. Now we're getting procedures in place to obviously make sure that everything's completely repeatable, everything's written out on paper, like printed out on paper obviously and stuff with like SOPs, and that's where we've been working on. So we went from, at the start of the company, a sales side issue to now a production side issue and becoming kind of like a legitimate company, moving away from almost like hobby manufacturing into full-blown production manufacturing.
The feeling of getting 15 units in the shipping container and off to Korea, what's that feeling like?
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Like that was when we're like, okay, cool, this actually might work. You know what I mean? Like John saw it, like this actually might work. You know what I mean? Like we've got the orders, people are trusting us, cool. And then he really bought into it once we started going to expos and we got the feedback. And then when John and I flew to Korea for the first container and we saw like how happy the customers were, how happy the people using them were, obviously the gym goers. And we also then learned that when we go into a new market, it's so important for us to go there and see the market because each market is uniquely different in what it requires. And so what I mean by that is in Korea, there's no such thing as a elevator that can fit anything larger than you or me in.
Right.
They don't have service elevators like that. And so all their gyms are either on the
Ground
basement.
floor.
I wish they were ground floor.
Okay.
They're actually all either basement or like floors 1 and above.
All right.
So it has to go up in an elevator.
Yeah.
And that's a huge challenge for a piece of gym equipment that's obviously vastly bigger than an elevator, right?
Yeah.
So we obviously went over there, and that was huge for like John to kind of go, okay, cool, like people were loving this stuff. And then it kind of allowed us to get into the Korean market and to start to refine our product too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, did you? So it was a busy 2025 then, by all accounts, and we're progressing into this year too. How, on a business level, how has your mind adapted? Because you've gone. It wasn't long ago when you were, as you weren't bankrupt, but you were out of money, and now you're on the up and up with the numbers on a P&L, on a monthly P&L is it beyond what you thought?
That's probably the part that I struggle with the most.
Right.
I think it's probably the business side now. It's something which I'm learning. I'm much better with the interpersonal stuff. Like we kind of go back to the start of the podcast. Vastly better with, and I realized selling something you're passionate about and something you built to people who are also passionate about those things is very easy. It really just comes down to like building trust with people and showing that you're one of them. Because there's nothing worse to me than a salesperson. And what I mean by that is somebody who doesn't have a passion for it and is just there for a paycheck. And that comes across so quickly when you talk to someone.
Yeah.
And it's just a really weird thing. And I'll go into gyms to sell a Citadel. And I spend an hour there and not mention Citadel. Not even talk about myself, not talk about my product. Going through, because obviously my passion is gym equipment, right? So I'll go in there and I'll start talking to them about their collection of gym equipment. What do they have? I love that piece. Oh my God, I use this piece in this country. You know what I mean? Going through like the history of all of the bodybuilding pieces that is in that person's gym. And then at some point, that guy is going to go, damn, he's one of us. He absolutely loves this. Like I've got a personal collection of like 40 pieces of gym equipment from the best pieces throughout history, right? So I talk about that too. Right? All these other brands. And then they just go, hey, I want some Citadel. Because you built that trust.
Yeah.
But when you see a salesperson come in and they're like, hey, I'm from X company, buy my stuff. It's like,
I don't trust you at all.
You just, like, that's a really weird proposition, right? That's like a really, like, there's no trust being built there. And so I've got good at that side of the business. But then when it comes to the business side of the business, like, I was never taught business either, right? So I'm operating, like I said before, with no playbook. And nobody just hands you a playbook and stuff and goes, hey, Ben, this is how you get really good at business. You know what I mean? Just read this and stuff and then you'll be fine at business. And so that's probably the bit that I'm struggling with most right now. And I'm lucky that I'm obviously got people around me, like I talked to you about before, my business advisor, who's going through the numbers with me and stuff and going, hey, we need to pull this lever. Hey, we need to do this. I've now got a distributor in Hong Kong who has been in this industry for 40 plus years. We're just about to do business together. And I'm going to be relying on him to really bring the professionalism within the company up to where it should be, because that's where I'm seeing my biggest fault right now is. And I almost want, like, I just wish I could be out there more and talking to the customers and designing new products, doing what I'm really good at, because that for me moves the needle more in the business. Whereas now I'm having to like get into the business side of running a business, which you know all about, obviously running your own business, where they're completely different skills. Like being a good lawyer and being a good businessman, I'm assuming are vastly different skill sets, right?
Yeah.
Making gym equipment and then being a good businessman are also vastly different skill sets. So I'm trying to learn that on the fly as well.
But I'm just so I'm so inspired by the kid that didn't have the playbook on person-to-person connections and relationships and be able to communicate. Is you sitting here and the business has been run by that.
Yeah, it's something, like I said, it's something which you have to learn, you have to do the practice reps, you have to just go out there and do it. And obviously people can still tell that I'm a bit weird, right? You know what I mean? Which is fine, right? Because everybody's,
Everyone's weird.
What I've noticed too is that a lot of the really successful people I've been able to, and I've been lucky enough to meet, they're all weird too. And I think it's why we get on so well, because and you probably would have seen this talking to like all the amazing people you have, is that it takes something a bit weird to do something a bit weird.
100%.
Like
you got to be, what was it, Conor McGregor's? Like you got to be a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
In your own little niche.
And I've seen people who have been given opportunities on a silver platter and then not take it because they're scared. They just go, oh, I don't want to risk it. And for me, going back to like when we didn't say anything for 18 months and stuff, I was like, what's the worst that can happen? I just fail. Well, cool, I fail and then I have no money, but then I have to go back and get a normal job. But then most people are already working a normal job. So my failure is your everyday life. So who really cares, right? Like,
and also, like you showed, you only fail if you stop.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're on a path.
Yeah. So I think that talking to like all the successful people, they've all had such insanely positive mindsets. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned is that you have to believe you can do it. And that, you know, all these guys, when they were actually bankrupt, like they were back against the wall, they had no money left and stuff, right? Like they were in dire straits and they just go, no, we can make this work. We can keep going and stuff, right? No matter what happened with them, they could make the business work. They could keep on moving forward, whether it be talking to athletes too, obviously, because there's a lot of athletes within the gym scene. And it's the same thing for them. It's like a setback. Okay, doesn't matter, but there's no quit. And I've learned from that literally, as long as you don't quit, you can keep making it work. And that's literally all we've done is just, John and I have just continued to work. Like at no point has there been quit. It's just like, well, it doesn't matter, right? Something bad happens, we can fix it. You know, like if something did break on a machine, doesn't matter, you can fix it. If the shipping company puts it into a roof, doesn't matter, you can fix it. You know, like there's nothing that's so broken that it cannot be fixed so far, luckily, that I found in my business. So,
so no sales in the first 18 months. Your first took, say, how long did the first one take to build? 3 months?
The first piece, the prototype, took like 8 months to build, like to get it done for ready for sale.
Yeah, and then you get the career order at 15 units. How many units are we doing now?
Yeah, so we can now do like 15 units in a month, right? Up to 20 units in a month, depending on obviously like the container, goes by container size. So we've obviously massively improved from like where we were when we got our first distributor piece, which is 1 unit every 6 weeks, to now 15 to 20 units depending on the container per month.
Wow.
And obviously like that's still tiny by industry standards.
Yeah.
A lot of the big companies are doing, 10,000 plus units a month, but they are offshoring that into China because it's the only way to reach that kind of volume. You can't really do that in the West. And there's really only like 3 other gym equipment companies who are doing it in the West still at a larger scale. And they're doing a lot of automation. And that's obviously where like Simon Watson told me he went down, was the automation amount from
What's
like,
the goal?
to grow the business.
What's the goal of Citadel?
That's also another really tough question to answer because it keeps changing, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, I know where I want it to be. And what I mean by that is I want Citadel to be all across the world. We're currently in 21 countries. By Christmas, we'll be in over 30 countries. But I want Citadel to be synonymous with, like, again, the best equipment in the world, right? And now we're getting awarded, like, actual awards on the world stage saying your stuff is the best in the world. So that's fantastic. But from a business point of view, that's the hard part. It's like you have one of 2 paths I can see this company going down. Path number 1 is that we continue to scale the company in Australia until it reaches its natural limit in terms of production, which is what happened to Cow Gym. Cow Gym was Caloundra gym equipment. They were made in Caloundra. They were doing, tens of millions back in the day before they kind of reached their upper limit. And then they were faced with, do we stay where we are or do we offshore? And they offshored. Or what we're seeing happen more in this industry is that a larger company, a massive multinational company comes in and they say, hey, we love what you're doing. We want to either A, buy you out completely, or B, bring your line underneath of our product line as like a separate line. Now, where do I want to go with that? That's still something that's up in the air, because if you had told me like 3.5 years ago when we sold our very first piece, would we be where we're at now from a business point of view? I would have probably said no.
Yeah, you said you're in 21 countries and 30 by the end of the year, very nonchalantly. Do you ever, you weren't even getting out of your own street 3.5 years ago,
But that's what I mean. It's like, when you're so new at something, it almost changes like what your idea of where you're going to be in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I've got like the end goal is to be the premier equipment manufacturer in the niche of like bodybuilding equipment, that our pieces are individually the best within that niche. That is like the end goal, right? And have a full plate loaded lineup of equipment that you could fit out an entire gym with, in theory, obviously, with each individual piece, but each of those individual pieces is the best you can get. That was kind of like my goal when I started the company, and that's still what I want to do. So that's like a personal goal with where we're going. But when it comes to the business side, it just changes so quickly.
Yeah. Okay, I understand
you know,
that.
and you meet these people and they're so hopeful and they can pull you in another way, which you didn't even think of. Like, I didn't even know this stuff when I started. Like, I didn't even think about distributors when I started. Right? I was just like, oh, we just send like one piece here and one piece here. You know,
To the gym.
That's exactly it. Like directly, like business to business. I didn't even think and consider like, hey, you can actually just send a container there.
Yeah, and they'll sort it out.
And they're sorted out, exactly. So like, I suppose, just pure ignorance and stuff to start with, a little bit of like how the business side of the business works. And it's something which I'm just super lucky to have a bunch of people who have helped to guide me and mentor me to not make fatally bad decisions. You know what I mean? In terms of like to make sure that the business stays on the straight and narrow and that we are always moving forward. And obviously I want to move forward quicker. But they've been like, hey, maybe consider that that's probably not the best move. And they bring me back into kind of like thinking and go, cool, let's make sure we get all the back end before we do the front end.
Yeah.
So that's something which I've definitely got better at.
Oh, man. The story is so cool. I really appreciate your time sharing it too.
No, thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Before we go wrap up, 5 quick questions for you. What does success mean to you, generally?
So that's changed a lot. I actually met a guy called Daniel. He's an awesome guy who runs McNaught Trucking down in Melbourne. And he bought 5 of my pieces for his personal gym at his house, right, which is a large investment. And I went down there because him and I hit it off, right? He's given me some amazing business advice, and he is very successful in what he does. He is brilliant at business. I went down there and I got to go to his property at his farm down in Melbourne, and I got to see how he lives. And I'm like, damn, that is what I want in terms of the time. I want my time. So success for me is the ability to manage my time where I can do what I want to do, right? Success, obviously, from the business point of view, is continue to grow the business, make more money, get in more gyms, all that good stuff. But from a personal point of view, to get back my time to do the things that I want to do and not have to do the things that I'm not very good at, right? Like we spoke about before, where like that side of stuff I'm not as good at, whereas I absolutely love the designing new stuff and making new stuff, and I want to have more time to do that. The training, obviously I love training myself. You know, I made a gym up here so I can train myself, right? And we have a showroom gym. But having that ability to have my time back, I think that's what success looks like for me.
Love that. What does happiness mean? If I said, what does happiness look like for you right now?
I suppose like I'm happy because I have a purpose. And I think throughout my 20s, when I was personal training, I didn't have a purpose. And so having the purpose of like growing Citadel, making new stuff, expanding the company, that's made me really happy because I'm actually achieving what I should be achieving. And having some time then with that too, to then focus on what I love, which is the design side of the business. So for me, I'd say the purpose and the drive to go towards what I want to do, and then the time to be able to pursue that. That combination for me is what makes me happy.
I love that. It's almost like you become the athlete that was using you as the personal trainer that wanted to enjoy that journey, not necessarily.
Well, I'll be honest with you, in my 20s, I wasn't doing what I knew I should have been doing. I was just being lazy and slacking off. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really pursuing anything hard, and I was kind of a loser. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of where I should have been going, I should have been working harder to create a business. I should have been working harder to work on something. Instead, I was just kind of like lazy. And with that laziness about pursuing something to create something amazing and something that will obviously like leave a legacy, you kind of become lazy and miserable, and that's not a purpose. And so by having Citadel, it all of a sudden, like, I was like, okay, that's my purpose, and that's what I absolutely love. and that's what brings me happiness now, because like I fly around the world and people know who I am. They love my equipment. They you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, that was probably the biggest thing which I learned and stuff too, is like having discipline and a purpose is everything for me. If I don't have that now, I wouldn't, like on my days off, I'm just like, what do I do now?
Discipline and purpose are really powerful ingredients to both happiness and success, I think.
Yeah.
What does your morning routine look like normally?
So it depends on like whether I'm going up to the workshop in Gympie or not. But generally it'll be wake up at 6 a.m. and then get on to Instagram and get on to my emails, obviously, because since a lot of my customers are internationally, I obviously have to answer their emails and Instagrams from overnight because of the time zone differences. So that will generally take me between like 1 and 1.5 hours to kind of get on top of that. If I'm going up to the workshop in Gympie, obviously I'll eat food and head up there. If not, then I'll have breakfast and then get ready to go and train at the gym. So I try and train 4 days a week. Obviously, the last little while, it's been a little bit less than that, setting up the gym. But now I've got the gym up here. I'm getting back into the 4 days a week of training. And then once I get home from training, obviously, then it's back into like work emails, work calls, Instagram. And that goes up to generally about 9:30, 10, because I'll either be talking to distributors or I'll be replying to Instagram messages, which I kind of didn't realize is actually a full-time job almost. You know what I mean? Like answering customer inquiries does become a lot of your day. And especially with Instagram, like that's our biggest thing. So for us, for advertising, we don't pay for advertising. We just obviously mainly sell off word of mouth at this point, which is good. And it's just about, answering them, sharing content, stuff like that. And then obviously meetings with like business advisors, stuff like that. So my weeks are always a little bit over, like I can never really plan them because I got so many different things on.
Sure.
I wish I had a better morning routine, but I really don't. It's literally just like work, and then I kind of fit around the few life things I like to do and stuff around that.
A piece of advice you'd give to the world?
If you want to do something amazing, get amazing people around you.
I love that.
I've learned you cannot do it alone. You need to have an awesome group of people around you who believe in you, even if you don't necessarily deserve the belief. Working unbelievably hard all the time, because otherwise you're just going to get outworked by someone else. Like hanging out with some of these guys and stuff, they're working, insane hours. I think hard work is, you literally just cannot skirt it. Like there's no way you can skirt it and stuff, right? And also, if you're brilliant at one thing, get people who are brilliant at other things to fill in every other gap. So as we're scaling the business now, that's one of the big things which I'm trying to do, is bring in other people who fill in your deficiencies. It's okay to have deficiencies, but as long as they're filled by someone else who doesn't have those deficiencies, who can make up for it.
Love it. And finally, someone that you know who you think would be a great guest for the show, Ben?
I got a couple who I think would be fantastic. Unfortunately, they live like in Sydney.
That's okay.
They live in Melbourne. Get them up at some point. But yeah, Daniel, with what he's done with his trucking company, I admire and respect that massively. Hamish, with what he's done with his gyms in Sydney, and his business background is vastly superior to mine. Starting his first business at 18. Now he's in his 30s. He's doing fantastic things. And on the sporting side of things, obviously, Christie, who runs the gym that I kind of came in at and became a partner of, what she's done the last couple of years to turn pro as a bodybuilder is obviously incredible. So yeah, I've got a couple of people who would make some pretty good guests.
Awesome. And a big shout out to Dr. Vass for recommending you as a guest. This has been an absolute treat, man. And I wish you all the best in the next few years. And looking forward to seeing you grow.
No, thank you so much for inviting me on. And yeah, Vass obviously kind of introduced us when I went to get the braces on. So I obviously saw his episode, and man, it's an absolute pleasure to be invited on. So thank you so much.
It's the pleasure is all ours. Cheers.
Thank you.
That was another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. Next time you're in the gym, turn to the person next to you and tell them all about the show. It really means a lot. A huge thank you to Ben Norris for sharing his journey with such honesty, from overcoming adversity and learning human connection to building a globally respected brand through pure persistence and self-care. If today's conversation inspired you, please subscribe, leave a comment, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. It really means a lot. Until next time, peace.